Trying to choose this Christ. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Mm-hmm. Hey, good morning, everybody. Glad to see you here today. I'm coming to you live from our beautiful Napanee, Indiana, where it is snowing outside. Yes, snowing. So, you know what? It has been a wild year with quarantine, with all sorts of things happening. So why not? Let's have some snow. Maybe tomorrow we can have a 90-degree day. We could all hit the beach, and then we can wrap up the week with maybe a monsoon, maybe a couple of tornadoes. You just never know in Napa or in Indiana. But you know what? I'm glad that you're joining me here today for the live stream on Looking at Worship. And today we're going to look at a classic that many of you know and many of you, I'm sure, love. And so I'm not going to break it. I'm not going to spoil it. We're just going to get into it. I'm going to sing it, and then we're going to go from there, okay? So, yeah, we're looking at a classic today, one that we all grew up with, and it goes a little bit something like this. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Don't let Satan blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let Satan blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let Satan blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine till Jesus comes, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine till Jesus comes, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine till Jesus comes, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Well, that's it. Little light of mine this morning. I'm glad to be sharing this song with you. And I'm sure for some of you who have grown up in church, this is a song that maybe conjures some really warm memories of singing this as a child with our Sunday school teachers. I sang it. I've picked around on it on my guitar for years. It's a song that's been around for a long time. But I want to kind of dive into a little bit of the words and the lyrics of this song because I think it's easy for us to hear something like this and assume that everybody thinks of it the same way. So let me explain. As I sing this song, I am used to singing the words that you just heard me sing. This little light of mine, hide it under a bushel, no. Don't let Satan blow it out, and let it shine till Jesus comes. Those are just what are rooted in my mind as the lyrics of this song, and it's always been a Christian song to me. And I believe that that's how it was originally written. However, when you look back through the years of this song, the way that we sing it in Sunday school today is very different than what the original words might have been. I never knew that. I never thought about that. But the interesting thing about it is I think when we get into here a little bit more, you'll hear some of the original words of how this song was written. And when you look at those original words, you can see how it was distinctly Christian for sure. I mean, that's what God had put here. Hold on a second here. I'm getting a phone call. There we go. Uh, Trying different webcam technology here, so you'll have to bear with me. Um, when we look at the different ways that this has been used over the years, it was originally written, I think, as a Christian song to be one that declares the light of Christ in us and how we're to share that. But as the song kind of progressed and became a part of American culture, it was also used in the 60s as part of the civil rights movement. And it became almost like a rallying cry. You can imagine how people who feel oppressed would sing a song like this to proclaim how the inner light inside of them will not be distinguished by someone's oppression or by someone's um, abuse of them. And so it does become a rallying cry, but at some point, I think we have to go back and we have to trace it back to its roots. And we have to understand and appreciate, I think, from a spiritual and biblical perspective, what this song is singing about. So, for those of you who don't know, this song was written by a gentleman. Oh, I just had his name here. Where is it? Oh, I'll go over here for it. Harry Dixon Lowes. Harry Dixon Lowes was went to Moody Bible Institute, and he studied there. He wrote several hymns and songs and different things, and this was one of his songs. But listen to some of the original lyrics that have been dug up. These are like the oldest ones that I could dig up. It says, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." Then the next one is, "Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. All in my house, I'm going to let it shine. And out in the dark, I'm going to let it shine." I thought that was really interesting to hear the difference that we sing it and we have put very Christian lyrics to it that make it very overt. But some of these lyrics by Harry Lowes that he originally put there are more implied of, this is my light, I'm going to shine this light. And we understand as Christians what that means. I think for you, and I hope in the way it did for me, it sparks us to think about 2 Corinthians chapter 4. In verse 6 it says, "Let the light shine out of the darkness." He made his light shine in our hearts. I'm completely botching that. Here, listen. "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of the darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the all-surpassing power of God is not from us. We are pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." You can see how if this is some of the key verses for this song, which I think this makes more sense than just simply the Matthew passage, which I think we get some of those, the more Christian version for it that we sing in Sunday school. But when we listen to these words, you hear that God gave us a light and put it inside of us. And Paul speaks to that in 2 Corinthians. And that light shines in the darkness. And even though we're persecuted, even though we're perplexed, even though we may be pressed in on all sides, that light shines. But what does it shine for? It shines for God to give him glory. And I think that's something that we have to remember when we sing this song, is that the light that we shine is not my individual light of my humanity necessarily. I think it's the light of God that he has placed inside of us, that treasure in a jar of clay, his spirit, his love, his salvation for those who know him. And because we have that treasure, we can shine in the darkness. And we're called to shine. We're called to let people know just how awesome God is. Now, a little bit more of a history of this song. All the way back in 1939, there was a gentleman by the name of John Lomax, and he was doing a documentary, and he actually recorded a female singer by the name of Doris McMurray singing this song back in 1939. I think I've got that for you today, and I want to play it for you so you can kind of hear what it sounded like back in 1939 when this song was sung. Let's see if I can get it queued up here. There we go.
neighbor's home, I'm gonna let it shine. In my neighbor's home, I'm gonna let it shine. In my neighbor's home,
Isn't that cool?
I'm gonna let
I
it
love to look
shine.
those
Let
things
it
up. This recording
shine,
is
let it
actually at the
shine, let
Library
it
of Congress, and
shine.
it's saved on file, it's documented,
I'm gonna let it
and it lets us know that in 1939 this song was recorded, but it
shine.
was penned earlier by Harry Dixon Lowes as a children's song. And I highlight this song because I really want to get down to something in worship that we struggle with today. And I want to be sensitive to this because this song became an anthem for the civil rights movement in the 60s. And I don't want to diminish the power that this song had. But when we think about what the light that this song is talking about, it's talking about the light of Christ. It's talking about this treasure in a jar of clay. It is talking about Jesus' disciples when he said that you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. You know, it is specifically talking about a Christian worldview and understanding of what Jesus has done in our lives. Where the danger is that when we take a song and we adapt it, whether it becomes popular or personal, when we take a song that's about Jesus and we adapt it to some other reason that we sing it, and in the end we end up giving something glory other than Jesus. So let me explain. So in the civil rights movement, the song was sung as a way to unify demonstrators when the police would come and brutalize them, use billy clubs, oppress them, attack them, and those type of things. And so they would sing, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." And so it was almost like this unstoppable anthem of, you will not oppress me. You will not beat me down. And I think that has a powerful unifying factor to it. But the song, I think, all of a sudden gets away from singing about Jesus being the light in us that we're shining, and more about this adversarial liberation type theology of you can't oppress me, you can't get me down. And so this song is all of a sudden sung not to give necessarily Jesus glory, but to unify people, to let my individual light shine, which it's really Jesus's light that shines. Do you get what I'm saying there? And that's something that, like I said, I don't want to take away from the civil rights movement and how powerful that song has become. But the real danger, I think, is when we adapt songs or we take something that is designed to give God glory and we end up allowing it to give us glory or something else glory. And so, I hear a lot of people who talk about songs that are written nowadays, and there's a lot of the singers talking about me and my and mine and who I am, and it's talking all about this person here. And I don't necessarily have a problem when a song references the personal I, like who I am, but it always has to put me in relation and in context to my relationship to God. And so if the song's all about me and how awesome I am, how great I am, how just utterly cool who I am as a person is, if it draws attention to me, then I say it's probably getting away from being a song that brings God glory. It can be a great song. It could be a song that that really encourages you and uplifts you, but it might not be necessarily a song that we would sing in worship. A good example of that is a recent song that came out. I think it's by Elevation in that group. And they sang it with Carrie Job. It's a song called "The Blessing." And it's a beautiful song. It's an amazing song. I think it's a song that speaks truth over our lives of God wanting to pour out his blessing on us. But I don't know that I could necessarily, as a worship pastor, sing that song in church as a worship song to God, because the entire song speaks about how God is blessing me, how God shows his favor to me. And when I think of a worship time or a song of singing, a time to sing a song to God, I'm not trying to sing myself and draw the attention to me. The only thing that I would draw attention to me in that is to say, God, this is what you've done in my life that brings you glory. Um, so a song that we sing, I'm going to see a victory before we went on our COVID hiatus. It says, I'm going to see a victory. I'm going to see a victory, for the battle belongs to the Lord. And so that song once again shows a personal benefit that I gain, but it's the recognition that God is the one who is in charge. It is God who protects. It is God's battle to fight. And I'm going to try to be faithful in the midst of that fight because I know God is going to get the glory. And that's the real danger with, I think, with our worship songs is when we sing songs, we have to be very careful that God is the one who is getting the glory for our worship. Really in anything that we do. I mean, it becomes much easier when you think about if you go and you want to worship God through service. And so if you go out and you serve, but you really do it so everybody looks at you and says, wow, you're such an amazing person, uh, that's a whole lot less about worshiping God and a lot more about worshiping what you hope people see in you. You want to have the notoriety. You want the glory. Andy Stanley once gave this talk about God's glory, and he said that our job when it comes to glorifying God is to take whatever trophy we might get in life, anything that we might say would bring us glory, and simply transfer that to God and say, God, you are the one who receives this glory. It's not about me, it's about you. And that's the safeguard I think we have in a lot of our worship songs. So a natural worship song I think that we can understand is a lot of the hymns, for instance, they sing about the attributes of God. They sing about a theology of God and who God is and what he has done. And I think that's a beautiful way to say, this song is going to be about God receiving the glory. So think about how great thou art, It talks about all of creation, all the things God has done, and he's the one who receives glory for it. I think anytime that we talk about the transcendence of God, his holy set apartness, that he is bigger, he is stronger, he is more able than me and more capable than me. Anytime we sing about that, those are attributes of God that we really can't confuse ourselves with. And if we do, we're simply being narcissistic. So, I can sing about God being the creator of the universe, the creator of the world. If I start singing about myself being the creator of the world or creator of the universe, all y'all going to just roll your eyes and, you're going to turn the radio off or whoever is singing that song. But I think the danger is when we begin to take those songs and we begin to make them imminent or intimate, we'll put it that way. Because there is this sense of God being imminent to us, close to us. There's his transcendence and his immanence. It's his closeness to us. And I think we're called to sing about God's closeness to us. But once again, his closeness brings him glory, not us. And that's the fine line, So we can sing a song that's all about God and everything that he's done, but because it gives us warm and fuzzy feelings inside, are we really singing it to be a worship song to God, or are we singing it for ourselves? There's a lot of the classic hymns that I know people just love to hear. And there was one lady that I was talking to at one of the posts I've pastored at before, and she'd say, I just love that song, The Old Rugged Cross. It always makes me think of my husband. And I know what she's saying, that was just his favorite song, it was her favorite song, and they would sing it together in worship. And songs have a powerful way of reminding us of people and places and times in our lives. But the real danger is, or the real thing just to safeguard against, I think, is when we do sing those songs, are we singing to God so he receives the glory, or are we singing them because they get us excited, because they give us a warm, fuzzy feeling, because they make us, they make us feel good throughout the day? Are we feeling good because of our connection and our worship to God, or are we feeling good because of some other emotional some sort of other connection that that song is giving us. That's something that only you can truly diagnose for your own heart. And I would encourage you to do that as you sing your favorite songs. You just think, God, am I giving you the glory while I sing this song? That can be true of any song, especially the new ones that we sing in church. I would encourage everybody who, whenever you sing a song, to really think about the words. Pastor John will kind of roll his eyes at me every once in a while because there'll be a song that comes on the radio and I hate it. Like I'm just like, nope, I don't like it. We'll never sing that in church. But as I listen to it more and I allow myself to reason through the song and think about its words, as I allow myself to really define what that song would mean for myself and as I would sing it to God, it's at that point that I can begin to say, okay, this song is good. I can see how I can praise God through singing this song. And that's something I think we should all worship or all wrestle through whenever we sing a song that talks about God. Is not just to blindly sing it, but to sing it with an awareness of how that song can be used by our own personal worship to give God glory. Because that's what the purpose of us singing songs are to give God glory. And the amazing thing that happens is when we give God the glory, when we don't take it upon ourselves to receive the glory, if we don't get up on Sunday morning to sing a song because we're the best singer or it makes us feel good or whatever the case may be, but we come on a Sunday morning or we're driving in the car and we're singing that song because we want to give God the glory, it's amazing how much better we feel when we do that. It's almost like taking the pressure off, If it's up to me to do these things to receive the glory, then eventually I won't be able to do them. I missed Monday being able to podcast with you guys and offer a song because my throat was sore, I was sick, and I just didn't feel like singing. And well, I could have sung, but it would. Anyways, we won't go there. But when I come to sing those songs, whether I'm singing them by myself or I'm singing them with someone else, I want God to receive the glory. And I think that's whenever you hear someone offer a song, whether it's a new song or an old song, you want God to receive the glory for that song. And so with This Little Light of Mine, it's a beautiful song. And I think it's a song that talks about the glory of God shining inside of us for all to see. Whenever you listen to a song, whether it's one that you know a lot, This Little Light of Mine, or one of the new ones we sing at church, I would just encourage you to really wrestle with those words and personally decide how you will give God the glory by singing that song. That way the song becomes yours. It becomes personal, a personal way for you to give God glory. And it's all the more powerful when we all sing it together. And so I want you to know that that's the kind of thought that I put into a worship song when I bring it to church and I offer it to you guys to sing along with me, is that it's a song that I've wrestled through and I understand how God's going to receive the glory through my worship. It's not about a rock concert. It's not about how good I can play or how well I sing. It's about God receiving the glory. And so I hope today that as you think about what you're going to do in worship, what you listen to, how you choose to worship. And once again, I don't want to pigeonhole worship to simply being about music. But what I would encourage you to do is that in all of your worship, do it so that Jesus receives the glory. Because he's the one who truly receives the glory or deserves the glory for everything that we've done. Because he's worth it. He's so worth it. He died for me. He died for you. He saved our souls. He gave us his spirit. And one day we'll go be with him. So as you worship him today and in your life, don't forget to give Jesus the glory in everything you sing. God bless. Have a wonderful day. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this lovely Indiana weather and the snow that we're getting. God bless.